Hi, this is Lisbeth Calandrino, and I am Director of New Business Development for Women of the Flooring Business. And today I'm so excited because I know the presenter and I've worked with her, and I'm excited that she can be here. Today I have Jenne Ross from Karndean Design Flooring, and Jenne is Director of Product Development at Karndean Design Flooring. Now, prior to this, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what she does with that. But prior to this, Jenne was she was marketing for Karndean Design Flooring, and she's been with Karndean close to 18 years, so she knows the ins and the outs, and she understands retail. She was actually with um, I'm trying general nutrition before this, so she's well versed in product development. She's well versed in sales, customer service, and the thing that's important about Jenne is that she understands retail. And not all of our suppliers know that. People can talk retail, but they don't really know what it is unless they have been in it. And Jenne, you've been in retail, so you know what that's like. Anyway, again, I have Jenne Ross with me. And Jen, why don't you just, tell us you have a BBA, right?
A BA.
Also, and what does that, how does that all fit in what you're doing? Maybe you could just give us a second or two about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I've really been looking forward to talking with you today and the opportunity to spend more time with the women of the flooring business at large. I did start with Karndean. When I was originally hired, it was in 2005, so a very different flooring landscape to what we have today. And I have an interesting background in that I actually started in university with a graphic design degree. And by my junior year, I really was stressed out. I loved the art, but I really was stressed out that there wasn't a lot of business involvement. I kept thinking, well, you do art for a company. How do you work in a company? And so I transitioned over into marketing. So I have a little bit of a background of really 2D design. How does that work on paper? Um, and applications of art. And then actually, when I first started at Karndean, we were so small. We, hit the ground running on a lot of retail. But while I was working at Karndean in my early days, I actually started to go to interior design school at night. So that I thought to myself, Karndean really should be doing commercial work also. And if I started to learn interior design as we grew, they would put me on some commercial marketing projects.
Smart.
So yeah. So actually, as it went along, I realized that if I got the degree in interior design, I would end up working at Karndean, and financially, it didn't really pay out for the degree. But my knowledge of the introductory of a fuse in interior design combined with my art degree, it really created a really nice spot for me in the flooring industry because I know what they do and do not teach about flooring finishes at school. And so just for all my years working at Karndean, where we specialize in personalizing floor, I really felt like I was a great person to be able to talk in a white space area about how flooring these days is a finish. And we really should be talking about flooring from a design perspective of how it should function for our homeowners more so than just performance.
Well, that is, you doing that is really terrific. I mean, you're right. You need to know how the finishes work, and we are looking at flooring, which it's been a while that it took for flooring to become more design oriented. So talk a little bit about what makes Karndean different. What is it about it that you believe gives the dealer a competitive advantage?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing you should know about Karndean is that we have been specializing in only luxury vinyl flooring before luxury vinyl flooring really was the cool and hip thing to talk about.
Nice.
Um, in 2023, this year, we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary. And I think what's really great about that is the company it started from Mike Walker, who is a flooring installer himself and worked in retail. So what he really wanted to do was create this new area that was just developing at the time in the mid 70s, but create a floor that was affordable for everybody, but had at the purpose was more of a system that allowed the flooring to be personalized for each user. And his main points originally were that it needed to be versatile, it needed to be affordable, it needed to be realistic, and it needed to be individual. And fundamentally, those are all the things that we still stand for in Karndean today. And what we really want is that everything, and why we keep growing as a consumer favorite, is if you look more in what we're all putting in our homes and our livelihoods, everything about our experiences now are personal and individualized. And why shouldn't your flooring, particularly for ours, for finishes, we want you to, from a design flooring standpoint, not have an end result. So a lot of people think of like, oh, is it straight lay, or is it on an angle, or is it a format? And it really, we want to do is change the idea of you can have a better conversation. And when you're focusing on the conversation, on how you're talking to your customer, that is design flooring.
That's interesting. Where do you think, we're talking about how to sell better products, right? Because the money is in the better products. And, I think that we sometimes think that, we get conscious of what does the customer have to spend, right? And we worry about that. I was at the Apple store the other day, and I was looking at the shoes the customers were wearing in the Apple store. And I said, anybody who's in the flooring business should know they get 400 customers a day in Albany, and they should know that what these people are spending on their shoes and what they're spending right on their phones. I mean, I would be asking a customer, what kind of phone do you have? Do you have an iPad? Because this all adds up ka-ching, right? So where do you think they kind of go wrong with presenting products to customers?
So I have an interesting perspective, because we do have a showroom at our corporate store where I work at. And obviously, because we don't sell direct to homeowners, myself and my team, we are not allowed to sell by price. So we can't quote pricing, we can't do anything like that. And so some of the methodology that we've written in our book really has come from the fact that we have learned over time how to talk about flooring in an alternative manner where price isn't the first thing that you have. And I kind of always joke to say, for us as women, price is important, but women value more. So how are you selling the value? And in my perspective, where I do have found the best way, I should say, to sell flooring, where I can sell more margin, and oftentimes selling more than just the room that they came in that says it's the pain point. What's the adjoining rooms around that space? Is actually I focus on looking at the space from the top down. Whereas most times when I talk to RSAs or even our sales reps, we're always focused from the bottom up. How are you going to build that subfloor? How are you going to build that assembly? And then what are you going to put on top of it? So the first two things that I really talk to people is, what's the purpose of your flooring? When we go to any space in our home, if you think about it, when you look in your living room or your kitchen, it's like, where's my TV? Where's my couch? Where's my table? Right? And those things, the elements that you put, those fixtures that you put in your space, those are all based on a footpath, right? You always have to allow for the footpath. Well, the flooring is the footpath. And when you think about flooring from a design function standpoint, the flooring should not be laid perpendicular to the floor joists or, the longest length of the room, because we've got underlayments that do that now, right? So we're talking about finishes. What way do you lay your floor finishes? And you install those the way you walk. So the easiest thing for a homeowner to understand is that my room needs to be installed the way I walk. And guess what? Most rooms have more than one doorway. That means the best way for a homeowner to get their floor is not straight lay, but on an angle. So I've already shown them from a top down that the best way to get the maximum enjoyment out of that space and look is to put their floor in an angle door to door. I've already built margin into that floor and they don't even know.
Oh, that's terrific. I hadn't even thought about that.
You haven't even thought about that, because no one talks about and I said, I know they do not teach this in school. They don't learn flooring design in interior design school. But I know like I said, this is my background of 2D design on paper. How do you do angles? Why is this important? So door to door, and homeowners get it, right? Door to door. And it solves its purpose. What if I'm working in my kitchen and I want to replace the tile with my wood, and I want to put a wood floor in my kitchen now because I can do that with LVT, but I have hardwood in my dining room that I want to keep. It's a different color. How do I tie a new hardwood with my old hardwood? Well, you got to put a border. What do you mean? Well, we need to stop that design so that your kitchen, you can have a wood and a wood, they'll coordinate together, but you don't have to worry about, it could be different. If you want to take your wood out a couple years from now, no problem. We put a border in, stops the design. It's not purposeful, you opted. So the whole point of Karndean design flooring is teaching you the purposes on how flooring works for a homeowner. But when you get them to understand how the purpose works for them, you build your margin in up front, and then you pick your color. So now you're going 10 cents, 20 cents with your different color, but you can allow of flexibility of maybe give yourself a good, better, best and say, just pick out what you want. But when you build in a color based on what they want and you build in a layout base they want, now as you, the flooring retailer, you have a lot of flexibility with your homeowner to be able to build their perfect floor, but still put your margin in different elements because you're not trying to nickel dime them up. You start them in a place that's best for their room, their architectural style, how it functions in their home. And then if the price is too much, then you say, okay, no problem. We could take that border out or we can make it a straight lay. And 9 times out of 10, a woman finds the value. And if you get them on the value, then they say, well, how do I need to save that? Or they'll find savings somewhere else in their life. They won't go out to dinner twice next month. Like they'll find it to get what they want if you show them that way. And that also for a dealer allows you a lot more flexibility to say, well, rigid core is the right floor here, but you could save in your subfloor, but you sacrifice the design. Or if you want glue down, you could keep the design, but it's going to cost more in the subfloor. It just gives you, and the homeowner gets it. And they have a lot of passion that comes out. I'm passionate about it because I don't think enough people tell this story about a new way to sell luxury vinyl.
Yeah.
But when you create the relationship like that, and when you're selling flooring that way, that can't be shopped down the street. So you can't take that drawing to another store and say, hey, bid this for me, because they don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's interesting because that's not the way a salesperson, they're going to ask, what do you want? They're going to, what color are you looking for? And they're going to kind of box themselves in right then. And what you're really saying is, you want to look at it, like you said, from the top down and create something for them so that they have something to think about. And then you can go through the, it's too much or it's fine, whatever it is. And now we look at color. You've created for them, right? In their mind, you've created that look for them. And that's the exciting part.
What also is really exciting that I found is we know when a husband and wife come into a store, rarely do they have the same style, right? And so a lot of times when you're in the store, not only are you trying to find them a color, but you're also somewhat playing marriage counselor because you're trying to find a harmony between the two of them. If you get them to come together to sort of map out their room first, then when you leave your little table and you walk around your racks, they already censor themselves. They already say, oh, I love that color. Oh, but that plank's too wide for that space. We said we didn't want that. Or, oh, you told me, we're looking at rigid core today. Oh, this is a glue down. We don't want this one because I wanted this. So you find that harmony up front and you have so much more control over the couple in the showroom floor.
Which is different than what we normally go through, right? And then the husband says, I don't like it. So now you've started from the top and he can get involved in that also, right? He can get connected with that. And you're right.
And let me tell you my trick for how I get them to map out the home, because we are not all designers. And I think that's the biggest hurdle is how do I talk about design when I am not a designer? And I've developed a little trick over the years, and it's very easy to do. What I immediately ask them is the question that we always ask them we're qualified. Like, what brought you in? What room of the home are you working on? What's your project? And then if they say, whatever room that is, they say, my first question is, well, is your room a square or rectangle? Because I can draw a square and I can draw a rectangle. But almost every room in a home is either a square or rectangle. So, and I say, please, excuse me, I'm a visual person. Do you mind if I pull out a piece of paper? I just need to draw this, for myself. So I pull out a white piece of paper, and then whatever shape it is. And and I'm very honest, I'll say, okay, it's a rectangle. Do you want me to draw the rectangle, east to west, or you want me to draw the rectangle north to south? And I get them very point to the paper. So I draw a rectangle and I said, where are your rooms? And they will always 10 out of 10 times point to the paper and say, my door's here. And I say, oh, and I go like this. Well, you know what? You know your room better than me. Why don't you draw your doors? And so so now the pencil is in the customer's hand. So they draw the doors, and I say, oh, do you have a couch there? Do you have a TV? What room's next to it? And they'll go, a bathroom. Okay, well, is your bathroom a square or rectangle? Okay, just draw a square rectangle next to this one. And then the customer has drawn out the floor plan. I now know the whole layout of whatever level of the home that we're working on. I know what flooring type is in every single room of the home. So I know exactly what I need for transitions. I know if I can convince somebody to do a carpet, switch something else out. It usually takes me less than 5 minutes. And all I did was I drew a square, a rectangle, and I secretly stepped back, and the homeowner drew the whole floor plan for me.
Magical. When did you figure that out? Where were you when I was in the business? When did you figure that out?
Well, it used to be, because I used to do it, and I just thought over myself over the years, how do I make it so anybody can do this? How can I make it duplicatable for anybody? Because I'm not a genius in the flooring world by any means, but it was just something where I was in a unique pocket where I had access to homeowners every day. I was selling to them, but I couldn't sell by price. So it completely changed the makeup of what we typically see in stores. And just that idea that was drilled into me of make it duplicatable. Nothing's going to be successful unless you can make it repeatable by somebody else.
Wow. Now tell us a little bit about products. What are you seeing out there? What's coming up? How do you figure that out, Jenne?
Well, we do a couple things. What I like to do is I like to do a balance of what we call both qualitative research and then quantitative research, which means sometimes it's measuring how frequently you see something. So reading reports, obviously within the flooring industry, but also following parallel industries. So a lot of times in the commercial landscape, I look at a lot of commercial furniture to see what's coming in the pipeline, because commercial movements change earlier than residential. So if I'm looking at tables or chairs, are they warm metals or are they cool metals? Are they mostly wood bases, versus metal bases? Those are all indicative to me of whether the market's going to go a little bit cooler, a little bit warmer. And then obviously talking and traveling and going to different parts of the country and just interviewing people and having conversations with them of what they see. And then I'm involved with some color forecasting professional groups that are really working at colors, 2 to 4 years out. And sometimes we even talk about societal and economic influence as early as 10 years out. And then what types of colors are then identifiable with those types of emotional feelings of what's happening in the world. And then you sort of drill those things down. The great thing about flooring is we're just working on neutrals. So as long as we've got the right harmony of balance and color palettes of what we have the blessing of being able to have product in the market a lot longer than some of those faster moving consumer good industries.
I'm not sure everybody knows that the background of Karndean, they have European influence, right? European owned, I believe. And your blogs are terrific. I've been reading your blogs, and I think that you talk a little bit about that, because if I were going to start trying to learn about trends and I was going to be looking at upscale ways to present to the customer, your blogs are really very helpful.
Oh, well, thank you very much. So yeah, we are fundamentally, we're an English owned business. We are a global entity. So I work out of the Pittsburgh office, which is the United States headquarters. But we have distribution offices in Las Vegas and in Texas, which means that we can get to anywhere in the US in 2 business days, shipping wise. But our global headquarters is still in England, in Evesham. And then we have a headquarters in Australia and a little one in New Zealand. So we really do cover the globe, but we are still family owned and we all work pretty closely together. I meet with my global counterparts every other week, actually. So I forget what your second question was, actually, now that you say that.
It was really about blogs and people looking at your blogs and using them to influence the customer.
Yeah, definitely. So we do try to talk about color trends and what's happening. We really try to keep focused to, and maybe this is a different time. Sometimes I write ones about really what's happening in the LVT world. So what types of, there's a lot of stuff that's happening in flooring finishes and colors, but what actually do I see coming into LVT? But then even so, we write blogs on how lighting can affect your space. And if you have a customer that complains about how this doesn't look in the showroom, maybe, spend $5 and send them a new set of light bulbs and see if you can help them in that manner. So we've got some things about there talking about temperatures of light, when and why could you use a border, design styles, colors, most things that you'd find or hope for the flooring manufacturer. And I definitely open up to the group that if there's something that you would like us to write about, please, to filter in those questions and submissions, and we can write you some content to help in that area, or maybe do a second educational type seminar or something where we could talk about these types of things. Absolutely.
Well, years and years ago, I was helping you write blogs. Remember
Yeah,
when
definitely,
I was writing blogs?
Gosh, that was, yeah.
Oh my God, I don't even remember when that was. But one of the things about the blogs is it really does put the design aspect. It really gets that out there, so that if you're in a showroom and you're a salesperson and you're not really comfortable with that, you've got that already done for them. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm not sure they know that. And Jenny, what's the blog called?
You know what? We don't really have a blog title ongoing because sometimes we'll have guest speakers or different articles. But if you go to the Karndean website in our news tab, that is where we'll have all of our blogs. But then what we will also do is you follow us on social media, either on Instagram or Facebook. Whenever we come out with a new blog, we'll post about it and then drive traffic to our site. What we've done in more recent history is we do a lot of real home case studies also. So like for influencers and bloggers, not only will we obviously partner with them for some product, but we definitely make sure that we get questions, lifestyle questions from them that we can use for real life testimonials to help our dealers in store. When a homeowner has questions, you can direct them to see somebody else in the industry that's used the product.
We have a question. Is there a plant distributor? Will they be getting one in the U.S.? Well, you've got them in the U.S.
Well, we have distribution facilities that we own. If the question is, do we have our own factory in the U.S.? Because we're a global entity, we do keep all of our suppliers, in Asia area. What this allows us to do is we have one consistent product portfolio that we supply the whole between us and the United States and the UK and Australia. So we do have people that buy from us at a global level, and it allows us to keep our product consistency the same as a brand worldwide. So while we can move a plant here in the US, it wouldn't benefit us as a group. What we are aiming to work on is actually work with our suppliers and our partnership to improve the environmental accreditations of the factories that we work with themselves. So the factories that we do work with are, it's called ISO certification. There's 2 different certifications, 14001 and 9001. Right. And what that means is that they are an environmental product. They treat their people with integrity. They have fair working hours and working conditions. But one of the things that we are ongoing is improving their renewable energy resources. And as we continue to improve our renewable energy at the production facility of them, what that means, because that's where most carbon gets produced, if we make improvements there, then regardless of where that product gets made, and particularly because the raw materials are closer to those areas than in the United States. So even if the product's made here, raw materials are getting shipped from another part of the world to the United States. So we're just offsetting where we're putting the global carbon. But if we move to renewable resources, then that drastically reduces our overall imprint in the world. And it therefore allows us to have those important improvements environmentally without having to distort and still keep a central hub of how we supply the world with Karndean.
Right. One of the other things that you might just talk a minute about is that you do focus groups. In fact, I was, really excited. I remember I attended one of your focus groups and where you brought in retailers and you asked them, what do you think? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What would you like to see? So how do you determine those?
Well, we're in a really different world now than when we were previous. Yes. And I think the future of those, honestly, with pandemic is more digital groups such as this, where we could talk to one another in real time. The challenge with focus groups of that nature is just the upheaval of being able to move to the travel that you have to take out of your regular working day, particularly as retailers. If you're not in your store, then that could represent lost revenue for you. But if we are able to move them to these virtual, then we only take an hour of your day instead of 7 or 8 hours of your day. So I'm going to be working. It's a goal of mine this year, and hopefully by the end of this year, is to really be working particularly also with our technical department on how do we grow our education and our product services and make ourselves more accessible and reachable to our customers via Zooms like this, or output of production of tutorials and videos and more on-hand site of being able to offer real-time resources to retailers in the marketplace.
Well, let's talk about installation, because you have a terrific guy, right?
Yeah, I honestly think we have the best installation team in the market.
I have to tell you.
And if you come to our surfaces booth, you see it firsthand, no doubt of that. We understand the technical nuances of LVT.
And the other thing about John, right, is that he looks high end. He gets dressed when he comes and he is dressed up, right?
Yeah.
He definitely represents your product. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being an installer and, that kind of a look, but the way he presents himself and the way he presents product with Karndean, you look and you go, who's this? And he's smart as a whip, and we're hoping, we're going to have him on, right?
March, I think we have.
Yeah, I think we're going to have him on in March, and I'm going to interview him, and he's going to talk about, his part of that, and people will be able to ask him questions. So when it comes to installation, talk about your department and how that works.
Yeah, certainly. Well, John's a really, I think you're right in almost saying he's kind of an anomaly in the business. Like
he is.
So he had his own business. He owned his own flooring contractual business, and he's been with Karndean maybe about nine years. But what's great about John is his passion for flooring and his passion about a flooring professional and being a flooring mechanic and bringing the craft into the trade and showing how you can make a job into a career. Because installation can be a very lucrative career, but he's done it both sides. He's done it when he's been a 1099 employee. He's done it when he's had his own business. He's done it when he's been, an in-house employee. And so I'm really looking forward to what he has in store to talk about and what your group wants to ask, because I think he's got a really, really insightful perspective of knowing the mind of the installer, but also knowing the mind of the business owner and how to mesh the two together. As well as knowing how to kind of telling you, because there's so many guys coming into the marketplace to want to install LVT, but maybe they're coming from different areas. So, I think a lot of the questions that you might ask is like, How do I know what they should be charging? When are they sort of padding what they're doing? How do I know how to hire a good installer, what to look for? Those are all great questions that I'll be honest, I can't answer, but John Jarvis can answer. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to a future session and we can really dig into the meat of that.
If you're just joining us, I'm talking with Jenne Ross, who is Director of Product Development for Karndean Design Flooring. And we're talking about product and, starting from the top down, when you all do want to start from the top down, you're all looking to figure out how you can add more margin. And Jenny's got a real good handle on that. And I would assume you do some training with your RSAs, right? That go out and call on retailers. So you do training with them, and I'm sure that they're pretty knowledgeable too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do go out and visit people in the market when I can, but my really goal for what I've done in the past is I don't want it to be that only I can do this, and that's why I've talked about it before. So it's something that I teach every new sales rep that comes through the hiring process. They do spend time with me when we go and learn and walk through these types of things on how to sell flooring differently, and how selling a personalized experience always yields in a better sale, whether you've got increased margins, more referrals, repeatable business. Those are the trifecta of the three things of the triangle that we want to make sure that we get through design flooring into the retail marketplace of what you can achieve when you carry the Karndean line in your store.
Well, my hunch is they're not used to, a lot of retailers aren't used to having a rep calling them that's like that. And maybe they should be asking reps just what you're talking about, talking about top down color, style, and design when they come to the store instead, just product.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we wanted to do was take it a bit further, because the hard part in store is always learning new language. One of the side things I did as like a side hustle when I was younger is I sold jewelry. And so I was the person that went into a home, I brought my jewelry collection, and I had to sell to women, why do you need necklaces, or how to layer and do all those types of things. And they used to have a mantra. We would go to training maybe it was one Tuesday a month or every other Tuesday. And the mantra there was, those that train remain. And that's always stuck with me. And honestly, the idea of making Karndean process duplicatable came from me selling jewelry in women's homes. Because when you're doing some of those at-home sales, like you're it, and you live or die by your sales pitch. So I do know firsthand how scary it can be to try on new language, how it's very hard to separate yourself from the sale and not take it personally. And so I recognize sometimes it can be really hard for us to change something that's worked for us and closed sales consistently where we look like the expert. So what we've done is we've put a lot of this language into our brochure for homeowners, so that when you go to a Karndean display in the book, because we still print a 175-page catalog. I think we're the only people in the flooring industry that print a true catalog of our products. So if I'm able to show you and get that collateral in your hands to show you the heft and weight of what the Karndean brand is, I'm going to take the time up front to introduce the design flooring methodology to the homeowner, because the homeowner doesn't have anything to lose. The homeowner is willing to learn because they have no idea how to buy flooring. So that if you don't know how to do it, you can introduce the catalog to the homeowner, walk them through the pages. There's graph paper built into there. There's the 1, 2, 3 steps on how to do it. And then you're really the guide to take this person down the river on the flooring, and it's make or break fail by the Karndean brand, not by the RSA. So we try to take some of that risk and ownership and scariness off the people in the store and let you put it back on our backs, that if they don't like it, it's not your fault. It's my fault.
Right. Now, suppose they don't carry Karndean. Who would they call it? They say, this sounds pretty interesting. Who would I call to get myself a rep in here to find out about the product?
Absolutely. Well, they can call, they can do it a couple ways. You can email info@karndean.com. and just say that you'd like your local rep to call on you. And if you can give us your address, we'll put you through right to the retailer and have the retailer call on you. That's probably the easiest way. I can give you our phone number, which is 888-266-4343. That is a direct line for our customer service hotline, and they're just excellent. They're really, really good people. Just something I don't specialize is, we aren't everywhere. We are a boutique type of brand, but when you come with us, then you've got that boutique level of customer service that our customer service people, not just your reps, know your name, know your order history, know little quirks about you, and they really take care of you.
I was talking to my physical therapist the other day, and she said, "Oh, you're the floor person, I guess." Somehow she heard that, and she said, "This luxury vinyl, what is all that stuff?" And I started laughing because I knew that I was going to interview you. And I said to her, and he just told me that she spent over $200,000 on renovating her kitchen. And I thought, oh, okay, she's our customer. And I said, you probably want a boutique product. I mean, oh yeah, she said, that linoleum stuff, is that like, oh, I said, no, you want a boutique supplier. And she said, oh, well, can you help? I said, well, I can figure out how to do that. But it was so funny because she brought it up, and just to tell me she spent that much money on her kitchen where I live, that's a pretty hefty number, to be telling somebody. You probably wouldn't tell anybody when you went
like a flip. That's just my life. That's just what I say.
Yeah, this is my life, my $200,000 kitchen and 3 kids. So somebody has some dough in there. Now, a little bit about commercial. You also have you have commercial products that they can use.
Yeah. So
same rep. We'll call on you.
For the most part, yes, or else there is a counterpart. But yeah, if you're doing commercial spec work through your store, yeah, our sales rep would handle both. Like your one sales rep would handle both accounts. So that is nice. You don't have multiple people that you have to remember names of from the brand. You have one in your area. Everything that we offer from Karndean, we warranty commercially to different degrees based on the wear layer. So also too, there's not confusion on, is this the commercial product or the residential product? All of our architect folders, our books tell you right there up front, its usage for both spaces and applications.
There's something I want to add. A couple of years ago, we have a question which I'll give you in a minute. But a couple of years ago, I went to visit my friend in Long Island. She's an interior designer, and I said to her, there's a design thing going on here. It looks pretty interesting. And I went, and the Karndean rep was there, who I knew, and I said, "Yep, there they are." And it was high end. And there were all kinds of finishes there. There were no other flooring people there, but they had Benjamin Moore was there, and they had window treatments, but it was really very fancy. And I said, this Karndean is there.
Yeah.
Okay, let me give you the questions. One is, can you discuss SP 220 Marrakesh Opus material?
And the inspiration behind the product. I think it's kind of connected, the inspiration behind it. Yeah, sure. So I'll start with a couple different things. So the Opus range that we have is a commercial grade product. It's got a 20 mil wear layer and a 2.5 millimeter thickness. So one of the colors that we've been asked to discuss is Marrakesh. So Marrakesh, if anybody has seen it, it's actually an 18 by 24 tile. But it has Iberian influences, and that's why it's called Marrakesh, from the Spanish market area, in that area. So we were really inspired by the patterns and the life that you see from that part of the country. But we'd also seen that this type of pattern and textile had probably been in the porcelain market 2014, 2015. So we had a little bit of time to understand the do's and don'ts of types of patterning in that area. So there was a few things that we wanted to accomplish. One is that we didn't want to do one stencil per tile. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's great. I love it. It's quite big right now. But we like the idea of a blended pattern where you didn't know where it started and stopped. So with that, we put it in a larger 18 by 24 tile. And the ideal way to install it is actually on a brick pattern. If you install it at the half, the seams of the tiles blend away because of how the pattern in itself starts and stops. So you have the ability to create really a seamless block of pattern in that space, or create it in a true porcelain tile area by using our design strips to create a more traditional look. But the earthy color plan in Marrakesh is my favorite because it's a really earthy palette. And I think if you really look at when we brought that out, we brought it out in 2018, so about 5 years ago. So really when we're seeing now, I think, was Pantone's color of the year like a terracotta color, I think last year?
Maybe the year before.
Maybe the year before.
Yeah.
But you figure in 2018, we were putting products out with some terracotta color in them. So those are just really like cool little anomalies where you kind of see examples of where we're at with color forecasting to introduce little spaces and little nuggets in that. But what I really love about that pattern is it allows you to have design, but it's really intended to be used by installers and commercial applications that don't want to be messed about with cutting or doing intricate work. And so the way that we design the top level of that pattern is really capitalizes the practicalities of installing those types of floors.
It's also a great story.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is a great
story. You have stories, right? I mean, that's a terrific story.
And that's the thing that we really pride ourselves on the most is our passion for development and our passion of the fact that we do things a little unconventionally, in the fact that we will travel and develop product that maybe takes 4 or 5 or 6 years to come out into the marketplace. So we let things sort of percolate and stew around and see how we feel about them. And we're really blessed as a business that the family allows us, money to make these investments so that we're developing the best types of products and not necessarily always something that's going to spark like immediate turn on investment.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, it's smaller company, so you can turn around a little quicker, and you've got people to talk to who, who really care about what you're doing, right? I mean, you have your finger on the pulse, as they say. So, there's a lot of input from you, is what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, and what I say before is like, obviously we want all of our products to make money, but it's not necessarily a linear thinking where we start a project and we go out and we buy a product and then we develop it and we put it to market. There could be time we develop it and we like it, but we say it's too early. It's not the right time yet, and we let that stew. And that part of the process is different from other people. But yeah, and I think that's what's important as far as the size and scale of Karndean is the importance and that we have in our partners that carry our line. Because we really are at a lot of the growth, and the growth that we have is dependent on the relationship of the retailers and their input into us and letting us know what's working for them or what they need. And so it really is important, and it really does funnel up. It really does funnel up to us, because I'm only one person, and a lot of times I'm behind a computer or doing stuff behind the desk. So I readily rely on the people that are in the field and our customers to give us feedback and input so that we can layer that in what we're developing in the future.
So let's talk about partnerships for you, meaning retailers. What kind of partners do you look for? Do you partner with everybody, the box stores and all that? Who are your partners?
Well, we, as a principle, we do not sell Karndean product in big box stores. We like people to shop local. But we also like to make sure that we have the quality and the control over our product. And let's be honest, and we all know this, we're in the business. A product that you're selling in the store by the same brand name that's sold in a big box store, it's not the same quality, but homeowners really don't understand that or know that.
They don't know that all the time.
And so we like to make sure that, for the product that you sell, we believe that when we put a Karndean product out there, we want you to have the best shopping experience that you can when you're purchasing it with it. And if you put it in a big box store, that part of the equation goes out the window. And you'll see on our website when it says where to shop Karndean, we say shop local. And why should you shop local? If you're looking for Karndean, and obviously we have different scales of people for our customers. We have people that love our product because they love the visuals of it and the story, and maybe they're not there yet with design in the floor. That's okay. You have other people that are totally all in and like sell exclusively Karn design flooring by the room, don't put pricing on their displays, like they are high end, that's it. That's great too. We love all types of customers. I think if you're looking for a brand that is going to allow you to diversify your showroom, will allow you in a one-stop shop from a brand, sell 3 different types of formats of luxury vinyl flooring, because we carry glue down, we carry loose lay flooring, and we carry rigid core flooring with crossover colors or similar harmonies of color palettes. We are a brand for you because we allow you to, from a visual alone, drive a higher price, but using our methodology, you can make those more margin, you can make more referrals, you can sell custom floors without a custom price. Because, we believe as soon as a homeowner comes into your showroom versus like a Home Depot or a box store, price isn't the number one driving factor. Price is important, but if price was the only reason that they were shopping flooring, they would have never even come into your store. So,
I agree.
What are we as a brand being able to give you different things to talk about other than price? And that's where we feel like we fill in the gap with telling you the backstories, allowing you to tell that homeowner, this is where this floor came from. They developed this from a 17th century French chateau. You could have that in your home. Tell Susie down the street what you were doing. Those are types of things that we see in other places. Remember in paint when everybody used to have white walls and now everybody has color. The same thing can happen to the flooring industry if we will it to happen.
Well, this is far too much fun, and we really need to wrap it up. But I just want everybody to know, of course, this is Jenne Ross. She's Director of Product Development for Karndean Design Flooring, and we're going to see a lot more of her. We got somebody who just wrote, I'm a fan, listening from the car. Thank you, lady.
Thank you.
We're going to see more of you. We're going to see John Jarvis, who is the installation person. We're going to hear from him too, and maybe we'll hear from one of your reps. Possibly we have women that might want to do a focus group. We may be able to do a Zoom focus group, because you're always reaching out. And for those, I don't know if everybody knows, but Karndean has decided about a year ago to become one of our brand partners. And so we're excited about that, because as you can see, this is a little bit above some of the products that are out there for sure. And that, if you can build a floor with Karndean, your customer's not going to see it all over the place, right? So this is a way to set you apart. And you can hear Jenne knows how to sell the stuff. So her reps do too. And if you want one of them to help you, a lot of times it's really interesting. Maybe you know this, but sometimes dealers don't want reps selling anything because, right? In fact, there'll be, they're getting training from somebody and they go, the reps come in and, oh my heavens, how awful. They don't know how to sell retail. And that's true. But your reps have a sense of the retail business. So, I think maybe for those of you out there, asking them to help you, maybe they can help you with some kind of an event that you want to have. I know Jenne is all good with that too. And so we're going to hear a lot more from Jenne.
Yeah. And you know what, guys, if you're at Surfaces, that's also the next great way to get in touch with us with the rep and come to our booth. So we're booth 2221. We're right catty corner from Shaw. So if you see the biggest booth of the show and then hang a left, that's where you'll find us.
Booth 221?
2221.
221 at Surfaces at Tice. So, if you're there, please go and see Jenne, because Jenne will be there.
Yep, I'll be there. I'll be
Jenne,
working.
Thank you so much for your time and my heavens, for all the information that you have. Very, very useful.
It was fun.
Thank you. It certainly was.
Take care.